Pro-Thumb, 14th of February 2024, Bangladesh is faced with a predicament in the face of a border civil conflict backed by China. The Chinese government's support for the Burmese Army's conquest of Burma has incited numerous rebel groups to oppose Chinese rule and the government backed by China in Myanmar. Not only has the Myanmar civil war taken a new direction for the combatants, but it has also affected Bangladesh. The conflict between the Arakan Army and the Myanmar Army is occurring near Bangladeshi border regions. Numerous individuals had been injured thus far by munitions and bullets that had crossed the border into Bangladesh before the 5th of February mortar shelling that claimed the lives of 2 individuals in Bangladesh. A Rohingya male and a Bangladeshi woman comprised the other. The Foreign Ministry recalled the ambassador of Myanmar, which also lodged a protest. Myanmar's democratic leader, Aung San Suu Kyi, was deposed by the military, which, under Chinese direction, annulled the election results and seized complete power in the country 3 years ago. After that moment, the conflict escalated significantly. The military maintained the belief that, as usual, it could retain control of the situation through the implementation of repression and suppression. But the resistance has assumed an entirely new form this time. NLD party leaders, including those of Suu Kyi, established the National Unity Government, NUG. Diverse struggling ethnic rebel factions joined them. Under the auspices of the National Unity Government, the Bamar youth of the People's Defense Force rose to arms against the military for the very first time. The intensity of the struggle escalated in October. Initially, along the Shan State's border with China, the Three Brotherhood Alliance, which consisted of the Arakan Army and 2 other affiliated groups, seized possession of several military outposts. They came perilously close to engaging in battle when they captured the town of Palitwa, situated along the frontier with the Indian state of Mizoram and Bangladesh. And most recently, violence broke out near the Tumbaru and Alakong borders of Bangladesh. Nobody anticipates Bangladesh's formal protest to influence the resolution or mitigation of the ongoing conflict that the Chinese have initiated. What should Bangladesh do next? As Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina stated, Bangladesh must first exercise patience. Regardless of the instigations that Bangladesh may face, it must never in any way imply that it supports a particular position. Our principal concern regarding Myanmar is the repatriation of the Rohingya population. The outcome of the civil conflict in Myanmar remains uncertain and, therefore, we must maintain a neutral stance in the ongoing conflict in light of the current situation. Furthermore, hostilities continue in North Rakhine between the Arakan Army and the Myanmar military, which China backs. Approximately 250,000 or 200,000 Rohingya continue to reside in Rakhine. Despite the absence of hostilities against the Rohingyas, the war will undoubtedly endanger their safety. They, too, might attempt to seek refuge in Bangladesh. Bangladesh is incapable of accommodating an additional influx of migrants. Such an endeavor must, therefore, be resisted at all costs. Furthermore, it is worth noting that the frontier between Bangladesh and Myanmar is comparatively brief. This border must be thoroughly fortified with a sufficient number of personnel. The aforementioned armed neutrality exhibited by Bangladesh should be exposed. Furthermore, it is essential to note that Bangladesh's interactions with the Myanmar government have been limited to official affairs. The status of establishing communication with the remaining stakeholders regarding the current situation remains unknown. China and India are the 2 central neighbors with significant interests in Myanmar, excluding Bangladesh. Although near the Arakan Army, China is the principal sponsor of the Myanmar Army. The conflict involves 2 parties that are both near China. India, conversely, likely maintains strained relations with the Arakan Army. However, India maintains communication with non-state actors operating in Myanmar. Since the emergence of the Arakan Army and the formation of NUG, many of us in Bangladesh have advocated for developing alternative non-formal communication channels with these groups. If Bangladesh maintained effective communication with such sources, it could remain informed of the latest developments along the border. This would facilitate decision-making and policy formulation. The delay has become excessive, and the situation has subsequently deteriorated. Nevertheless, establishing communication channels with NUG and the Arakan Army is critical. National security analysts believe that India and China will oppose such an endeavor. It has been demonstrated, however, that our interests in Myanmar differ from those of these 2 formidable allies. Furthermore, discussions are currently underway with the military administration regarding the repatriation of Myanmar Army personnel who entered Bangladesh in pursuit of the Arakan Army. It has been learned that individuals who escaped the battlefield have been sentenced to death by military authorities. Even though this is unrelated to Bangladesh, we must verify whether or not we are appointing these individuals to the firing squad. Ultimately, despite the Myanmar military's substantial ground loss to the opposing party, I maintain the optimistic perspective that this civil war will not culminate in their total defeat. Notwithstanding the myriad of uncertainties, there is a greater likelihood that the conflict will be resolved amicably at some juncture through dialogue, voluntarily or through influential nations' intervention. The Arakan Army and the NUG, two factions in this debate, will be crucial in determining the future of the Rohingyas. NUG has made essential commitments regarding the Rohingyas. Although the Arakan Army holds no such obligations, their position may have recently become more accommodating. They had previously suggested that the Rohingya population might eventually be integrated into the Arakan government. Bangladesh should proceed while duly considering these indications. There is one inquiry that I believe warrants special consideration. Will individuals who attain dominance through arduous struggle and significant sacrifice be amenable to distributing the spoils of triumph among those who remained on the periphery in silence? In forthcoming discussions, the dynamics of the negotiation table will be influenced by two nations, China and the United States. China has indicated that it will provide support for the Rohingyas' return to Rakhine following the conclusion of the civil conflict. It is challenging to determine the credibility of this commitment. Notwithstanding this, every possibility ought not to be disregarded. India is likely to exert some influence in the negotiation process as well. It is urgent to initiate diplomatic efforts that are discreet and effective with these nations and those of ASEAN, given that they will likely play a significant role in resolving the crisis. Bangladesh must maintain steadfast determination in its pursuit of ensuring the Rohingyas' safe and legal repatriation to a prospective Myanmar.